Welcome to Super Talk Outdoors, where every single Monday at lunchtime we celebrate the world-class outdoors of the state of Mississippi. Because, like I like to say every week, this is the capital of the outdoors in America. I want to thank you for joining us on the powerful Super Talk radio network. Radio is king in Mississippi. But some of you are listening to Super Talk Outdoors at supertalk.fm, Amazon Alexa, the Super Talk Mississippi app, or Super Talk TV at C Spire TV. Some of you are watching on social media at YouTube or Facebook or your favorite podcast. We really appreciate you joining us. It's December the 29th, 2025. Listen, we spent the weekend up in the Mississippi Delta hunting with my two sons, Jordan and Justin. Justin's in town from New York City, and he left this morning. And Jordan and his son, Liam, who's 4. So when Jordan is bow hunting, I get to hunt with Liam, which I think is an absolute blessing. Liam is 4 years old, going on 60. He's the wisest 4-year-old you're ever going to meet in your life. And anyway, we had just a great weekend. We had a great Christmas. I hope you had a wonderful Christmas as we barrel toward the new year. Listen, one of the interesting things about hunting over the last few times up at the Mississippi Delta is when we had a little bit of free time, we would typically put on Primos Outdoors and watch Will and the boys hunt. So they have so much great content still there on YouTube. But more recently, we've also enjoyed Outdoor Boys. I really didn't know Outdoor Boys, but my son Jordan described them as kind of family friendly, very wholesome. And I watched Liam engage in that show. He's only 4. It turns out Liam, even when they're at the house in Gulfport, they've got Outdoor Boys going kind of a loop, and Liam is spellbound by it. I was truly amazed by how spellbound he was. And we became kind of spellbound by it. It's an odd thing, because when you first tune in, you're thinking there's no way, but 10 minutes in, you get hooked. In fact, I was listening to Joe Rogan and Jelly Roll. Jelly Roll's talking about his, weight loss and his life and his redemption and all of that. And during that conversation, Jelly Roll and Joe Rogan got into a conversation about Outdoor Boys, about how they were hooked. So, it makes you, it's no wonder this guy has so many millions of followers and views. And if you haven't seen Outdoor Boys, I really want to encourage you to kind of tune in. So I was having a conversation with someone not long ago, and they asked me if I had ever had David Ellis on the show. Yawt is kind of how he is known. And to be honest with you, I didn't know much about him. So I dove in and paid close attention to his social media, watched some of his YouTube videos. And I became pretty enthralled by him. And in a way, what he's developing is sort of an Outdoor Boys of Mississippi. That's the way I would describe David and what he's done. But you're gonna get an opportunity to get to know him. He came out guns blazing in 2017 when one of his videos went viral, and there's really been no looking back since then. So we're going to take a bit of a chronological tour of David's ascension in social media and his love of the outdoors. So without any further ado, let me welcome David Ellis, and we're going to tell his Yawt journey. David, how you doing, my friend?
All right. Hey, thank you for having me here. And I got a little tickle in my throat this morning. I don't know where it come from, but it seemed as soon as we got on here, I can't seem to turn it loose.
Hey, listen, man, I've had one or two of those along the way. In fact, for me, we had a little surprise birthday party for my wife, Ann, and a couple of members of my family, they didn't know it at the time, went into that birthday party with the flu. And it ravaged my family over 2 weeks. I was the last one to get it. And I got it just before Christmas. And I'm still a little bit stuffy, to be honest with you. It's one of those, I mean, the worst of it's behind me now, but I still got a little bit of a tickle on my throat as well. Hey, where are you sitting right now?
I'm actually at the kitchen table. It's probably the only spot my wife will let me sit around here. I'll be, me and the 8-year-old, we be tearing up some stuff around here. But no, I'm just sitting at the kitchen table, hanging out, what we used to call the trailer hood. But like you said, over the last couple of years, things have gone really well. And We've been able to buy a house and whatnot. So I don't have no problem with nobody living in a trailer. That's where I come from. But we always say, you know, from my trailer hood to yours, and then I got a house, and everybody's like, you ain't part of the trailer hood no more. I'm like, I still got roots.
Would you have ever imagined, man? Think about it. When you first started posting videos and, you know, your love of turkey hunting and all that, would you ever have thought that your path would take the path it took?
Man, you know, of course, no, I don't think anybody ever knows, and that's the power of social media. But just like you were talking about Will Primos and the Outdoor Boys, were, of course, Will Primos, that's kind of the standard of where everybody wanted to be. You wanted an outdoor show. You wanted to be on TV. And I learned later in life, like, if it's meant for you, it's just meant for you. Everybody wants that lifestyle, but everybody doesn't get that lifestyle. And then social media kind of took over, and you have something go viral, you get your name out there a little bit, and then you just start living your life, showing your life, and people just, you know, live through you, but also fall in love with the fact of what you do. And then if you got just a little bit of personality that somebody can like, then I believe as a believer, God will bless you.
I agree, man. I agree. God has blessed you, and God has blessed me too, man. I thank God every day. You know, I remember a conversation I had with Steve Davenport, he's the guy who owns SuperTalk. And he said to me, I said, look, I don't know anything about radio. But, you know, when I was a publisher of newspapers, we had a lot of editorial board meetings and great conversations with community leaders and all of that. He said, you don't have to know anything about radio. What you need to know about is how to be yourself and how to have good conversations with people. And so what I came to appreciate is that authenticity is everything. And in fact, he said, don't ever try to be somebody you're not, because the day you do, you're in serious trouble. The listeners are super smart, man. I know this for a fact. And listen, when I was at the Sun Herald, we had 150,000 readers a day. Think about that for a minute. Right. You can't fool them. You know, you can't fool them. So authenticity is your calling card, isn't it?
That's right. And I remember when I first started, you know, I was being silly, being over dramatic, doing videos, and it was just being a character, a personality, and having a good time with it. But as you go on, it's hard to keep up that persona of that person, of Yawt, I guess you would say. And so when you kind of get, okay, well, now you're going to have to be a real person. You can't be this. And I remember somebody texting me that was in the outdoor industry at the time, because as I started getting moving forward, more people kind of want to be around you. As my grandmama said, if you're doing good, everybody wants to be around you. But when you start doing bad, they'll fade away. So a lot of people were coming my way. And I remember a guy saying, man, you don't need to show one side and then be the serious side. And I'm like, well, it's a lot of effort to be over dramatic all the time. So let's just be David Ellis, let's be Yawt, let's show this life and do it. So the authenticity of it, you know, as a trapper, a personality or whatnot, you gotta be real. Cause like you said, people see through it all the way, whether it be your accent. You know, I get people all the time like, is your accent real? I'm like, that's the only one God gave me, you know? So.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man. I did a post about 3 or 4 weeks ago about a guy who killed a really good deer during bow season with his rifle, and he got caught. And I called it the devil deer because this particular deer, I was aware of this deer, and it caused everybody in that area to go a little bit crazy. I mean, they were drawn in and they wanted to be the first to get that deer. And it did. It made everybody crazy. So I actually called the deer the devil deer. And I did a post about the devil deer. And it literally took off. Over 3 million people engaged in the post. But it goes to show, when you did that Yawt turkey video, you never know. I don't think you ever expected it to be any different than any other video that you posted. But you just never know when that one post is going to do something like that devil deer post did, or like your Yawt video did. But that Yawt, it literally changed your life. That one video, didn't it?
Oh yeah, it definitely changed my life. And just from just being the local known David Ellis, to, like I said, saying Yawt to being Yawt before it was over with. So and it just has that. I just believe you use it for that positive role model or positive feed, that you just have a better chance than being negative and all of that.
Yeah, it's just like I talked about Outdoor Boys. What is so beautiful about it is not only authentic, but you learn a little something. So you learn a little something from your videos. The other thing I said is that it's wholesome, and you're wholesome. Kind of a God-fearing guy out there, loving the land and showing people how to deal with, in your case, predators and just overall enjoying the outdoors. When we come back, we're going to get a little bit deeper into your story. I'm curious about where you learned the love of the outdoors, and then we'll advance the story to the pile of hogs that you're engaged in these days, among other things. But we'll continue our conversation with David Ellis, better known as Yawt, after this message. We'll see you after this. Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors. Listen, are you looking to purchase your perfect piece of hunting property, upgrade your farm equipment, or have you been dreaming of owning your slice of heaven out in the country? Don't we all? Look no further than Mississippi Land Bank for your financing needs. For more than 100 years, farming families and landowners in North Mississippi have turned to Mississippi Land Bank for all kinds of financial solutions, whether it's for land, equipment, or livestock. For more information, visit mslandbank.com. or go by and see one of their friendly staff at any of their offices. We're thrilled to have Mississippi Land Bank as a sponsor of Super Talk Outdoors. Now let's get back over to my friend David Ellis, better known as the Yawt guy. And we're going to tell his journey, kind of starting from the very beginning. But David, you grew up loving the outdoors, didn't you, my friend?
Oh yeah. I mean, just like anybody else, you want to be outside doing. Now my brothers were probably more outdoorsy, and my dad for sure. But as time went on, probably my 16 years old, 17-year-old, kind of ventured out on my own and doing my own thing. And then later on in life with work, and just ended up with good places to hunt and good places to just be outdoors. And you just turned it into a love. But, back then, if you want to buy a good camera, it was $6,000 to be like Will Primo's, So we didn't have cell phones, with the camera capabilities as today is. A lot of people say, man, I could be famous if we just videoed the stuff that goes on around camp here and there. And that's true. But if we'd had that years ago, but we didn't have $6,000 in a camera to tote around. And then you had to, and that was another thing, you had to have sponsors to be on the TV. And that's just what I love about the YouTube and the social media world is we don't have to do that. We can take that camera off that phone, that GoPro, put it to the internet and make our living straight from there, and nothing invested other than a phone or a GoPro.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting. That would be referred to in the real world as a barrier to entry. In other words, I've had Cuz and Will Primos both on the show talking about those early days, how heavy those cameras were, and the fact that they used to carry them around with them. But not anybody could just go into that business, because not only were the cameras expensive, but as you pointed out, it was expensive to produce and put on a full-fledged outdoor show. But in the newspaper industry, we would have said not everybody's got a printing press or barrels of ink. Right. I mean, think about the cost of entry in that. But today, now everybody's a reporter. I mean, everybody with their cell phone can report anything. We're seeing from war's front lines and every kind of story you can think of. So, the opportunity for someone like you to be able to break through and let what it is you have in your personality and your love of various things, to give that an opportunity to shine through. It is really, there's no barrier now. The only barrier is, do you connect or not? And if you can connect, people will like it. And it's been interesting to watch that evolve, hasn't it?
Oh yeah. Cause like I said, a lot of my stuff, I mean, I always felt like I wanted to be in that outdoor aspect of life. I mean, I enjoyed being a lineman for 23 years, but I am where I am now. But it took a little road, like I said, 2017. And there's a lot of people that want it, but you also now you have the opportunity to go get it. You just got to go get it. You can't be afraid if you want to do what I'm doing, you can't be afraid about what your neighbor thinks about what you're doing. I mean, my neighbors see me filming crazy stuff in the yard all the time. I don't worry about it because my lights is on, my kids are being fed. So, just don't worry about what somebody else thinks. And as long as you're doing right and keeping that motivation positive, just go for it. Film your hunts. If nothing else, film it for you and your kids, or for your memories, and just do it. That's just the main thing is don't worry about what somebody else thinks and just do it.
Okay, so let's go back. So you we'll actually use the 2017 Yawt video, sort of the defining moment, but we're talking about before that. You mentioned you were a lineman for 23 years, I think you said. When did you tell us a little bit about that, but then also when did you actually start doing the videos?
So before, I just always had good places to hunt where I could turkey hunt. I was just blessed with places to turkey hunt to where if you messed up, you just left that turkey and went and found another one. Like it was just really good turkey hunting back then. And then deer hunting, I just had a lot of good places. I used to be a really big bow hunter. That's all I wanted to do. And killed a lot of big deer. My first buck was 11 points, scored like 150 inches, with a bow. And so I was very blessed with that. And that's what I was getting back to. Everybody can do this, but nobody could do the filming back then. Now you have the opportunity. So I had a great places to learn, to hunt, and whatnot. And then when 2017 hit, we was actually running into just a little bit of trouble with the neighbors and whatnot, worried about, if I was killing their turkeys or that, or they couldn't kill them because I was done killed them over here, so I made basically, I didn't say light. I was trying to aggravate my neighbor with a couple of videos. So when I killed one, I put up a bunch of trespassing signs and act like, that I was, even though I wasn't. And that silliness went viral. Okay. But here's the thing about that. One of those videos I'm talking about, God bless, Jesus loves you. Even though I'm meddling, I call it meddling. I was being petty. And then I think the next time I went and killed one on a Wednesday, and it was right across from a church. And I remember picking that turkey up and did a video, and I was like, unlike this turkey, I better get to church so I can be saved. So I was talking about being saved. Jesus loves you. God bless. Well, then I killed another turkey that went super viral. It was the last one in Mississippi. And you had one of those complications of, do you let everybody know you just killed your third bird in Mississippi the first week of season? Or do you do like every other person in Mississippi that, might not be right and May 1st tagged out, and just, I was kind of talking about all that and I got done. I did a video. God bless, Jesus loves you. And I was meddling people that maybe didn't like the Yawt, which I was David Ellis then, but they didn't like because I was killing turkeys or had places or whatever their thought process was. But I got a call from Arkansas from doing those videos to be at a wild game dinner. And they said, listen here, we want you to come speak at this wild game dinner at a church. I never even knew what a wild game dinner was. He said, not only we want you to come speak, we gonna pay you. And I said, look at him. I done spent my whole life in school and they ain't do nothing but tell me to sit down and hush. And now y'all gonna put me up on the stage and then y'all gonna pay me to talk. I said, man, they should have had my own class back in high school. I could have been way ahead of the schedule. But I remember going and I had to show up and speak. Even though it was a wild game dinner, it was for people it was a men's conference that was going through hard times, whether you had lost your job, lost your family, lost your kid, wife, maybe you had alcohol or drug problems or whatnot, anxiety, depression, suicidal, everybody was going through something. And they had all these men come to be part of something, to bring men together. And they had me as a speaker. But see, I didn't know that. I thought I was going there to tell some old crazy turkey stories in a sense. But what they was looking for was a testimony. And see, I was talking about God bless and Jesus loves you. And I was far from a preacher or any kind of person that would give a testimony. But God took the one thing I knew how to do, and that was hunt turkeys and have a little fun with it. He put me on stage in front of 300 broken men. And I knew that day, that's what God's plan was for me. Going to use my personality, going to use my platform. I was meddling, but he turned it around and said, no, sir, this is where I want you to be. And ever since then, I've spoken at hundreds of churches, hundreds, and between thousands of people. I mean, this month alone, we did 100 million views. I looked at it this morning, it's at 101 million views. Well, egoistically, social media, you would think, man, that's awesome. But we have to remember that's almost 100 million people basically that heard God bless and Jesus loves you through my videos. And we've been doing this since 2017. So that's where I feel like my platform. But don't forget now, I'm a head knocker and I get turned sideways too. So, Jesus has to humble me a lot every now and again too. But that's kind of where it started. That's where I knew where my platform was going. And during that time, I will say I was going through the hardest time of my life. And I was raising a son. I was a single father. And when I say single father, I was raising a son and didn't have nothing, And I had a post come up the other day that come up with me and my son. And I remember, and I try not to get emotional when I say this, but it's me and my son in front of the Christmas tree. And I had gave him hunting socks and some cool toothbrushes. And that's all I could do. And you know what? And now I got so much and I just want to give it away. And that's what makes me think, and we'll talk about that later, or where we're going, where we're at now. It's not about what I can get. It's where I got. And now I'm going back to the people that was just like me or going through things just like me. And like I said, it's that Christmas is not about the presents or whatnot. So, the reason of seasons for Jesus. And I just think about that, man, that what I didn't have, and God has took this platform and built me up there the hardest time of my life. And dude, I can't even remember all the blessings I get now through what I do. So this platform is just blown up, and it's for all the people that listen.
David, it's a beautiful thing. And, before we get to the end, we'll talk about our mutual friend, Martha Allen, and Extra Table and what you're trying to do there. I think that's a great way to use your platform. That's kind of the way I see this platform as well. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with David Ellis. Hope you're having a great day, and stay tuned. We're going to continue the conversation. Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors. We're having a great conversation today with David Ellis, sort of known as Yawt. David, what's interesting about what you were saying before we went to break, talking about how this 2017 video and the videos that came after that, it sort of created this great platform for you. You've had this opportunity to talk to thousands of people in churches and whatever. You didn't know it because I didn't tell you this, but I just finished a book that's being edited right now. And the name of the book is Finding Hope, 25 lessons that will guide you through any storm. And as you were telling sort of your early story, about buying your son the socks and what else was it? The socks and what?
The cool toothbrush. The cool toothbrushes.
I remember. Listen, my dad died in 1979. I was 21 years old, and I had a choice to make in life, and I made that choice. And for a couple of years, I lived. I didn't have a whole bunch of money. And, I was back in school and kind of pursuing my dreams. I remember my mom came over once and she opened up my refrigerator, and all I had in there was bologna, popcorn, and mayonnaise and some bread. And she said, Bubba, let me go. My family calls me Bubba. Bubba, let me go get you some groceries. I said, no, ma'am, you don't understand. It's really important for me to eat those bologna sandwiches. So that's the way I kind of lived for a little bit of time as I continued in school, and then kind of the rest is history. But everybody goes through these storms, and when you can use your storms and your platform to help people get through others, there's something incredibly inspiring about that, isn't it?
Yeah, you got to wake up. Like I said, we do social media, so we're always posting, and our YouTube agents and our Facebook agents or whatever, they're always make sure you post, keep engaged. But what I've learned is people need that positivity. At the end of the day, nobody really cares how bad your day is. Let's do something. Let's as we call it, fight the demons. Show some positivity, because it's somebody else that needs it more than me. I was joking my wife the other day, and my wife's been off with surgery. She'll be off 6 weeks, and she's doing great. But we were talking yesterday. I had to go hunting. I call it going to work, because social media is my living. So hunting's my living. I told her the other day, I said, I gotta go hunt. So I got to the woods at like 12 o'clock. So I done sat in the stand about 5 hours, and I come home and I said, it is rough. I said, I didn't kill nothing. It's 75 degrees. I hunted 5.5 hours. I said, I got a bad back from pulling all those wild hogs. And I said, it's done pinched my nerve and got my left leg numb where I couldn't even hardly walk out of the woods. And she goes, you do know what I do for a living, right? she's a hospice social worker. And I was like,
Oh,
yeah, I was like, yeah, my day didn't seem that bad, So she was like, we had to, she's like, my day was not that bad, even though I wanted to be like, yeah, my day, we have to remember there's always somebody else going through something worse, and I'm so good about that. But my wife's good about humbling me back down. Like, hold up now, you hunt for a living. There's people out there that's this time of the year that's going to be their last Christmas. My mom passed away a couple years ago, and so Christmas is hard for us. But if she passed after Christmas, and my wife's good about keeping me humble about that. And I just feel like people need that positivity every single day, because there's a lot of people that just go through the same things that we go through. A lot of people just think that they're the only ones that going through something, and they're not. We've all been through it. It's just we maybe never said anything about it. But if we send that positivity, hey, some people just need a handshake and a smile to keep the rest of the day going. They're holding on that little bit. And so somebody's always got it worse. Somebody, and God blesses me. And I try not to be that person that says, hey, it's a bad day for me, but we think there's people out there that's really struggling. And just giving that positivity, and then moving forward what we really got going on, like you said, with the extra table coming soon.
Well, what's interesting about your story? I'd be interested to hear more about this. If you think about turkey hunting, was kind of the sort of some of the initial stuff. Of course, we had the Yawt video that sort of defined you, but then you had to decide where you go from there. It's like a great entrepreneur who has a product, but the product is seasonal. So I got to try to figure out how I can do this year round. Was hog trapping part of your deal early? Were you already a hog trapper, or was that sort of, wow, this is a great way to diversify the video stream, and it just took off as an additional diversification of your video business? Where did that come from?
So I was always a trapper in general, whether it be the raccoons and the coyotes and beaver and stuff like that for land management, particularly for where I hunted. But as social media grew, like you said, you could only turkey hunt 41 days out of the year in Mississippi. And so that means it only limits you to what you can do. So since being a trapper, and it was right after turkey season, you could only trap beavers because they're a nuisance animal in Mississippi. And then the other one was going to be hogs. And I always got questions about, can you come catch hogs? Well, I had a friend, Rodney Johnson, over here in Clay County. He's the only one I knew that had enough money at the time to buy one of them high-dollar hog traps. And I remember him catching a ton of them. I don't know, it was 30 or 40 of them. And I saw that picture on social media, and I was like, I'm going to do that. And I just got online, and I started contacting these hog trap companies. And one of them bit, and he wasn't 30 miles down the road. And I never knew the whole time the company was down there in Crawford, Mississippi. And we got together. They looked at me, and they was like, now, you got to understand now, I'm thick now. I look like a wet towel ready to pop somebody in the locker room back then, redneck, scruffy, didn't care about nothing because of all the things that was going on in my life at the time. But I sat down, had a talk, and they was like, we'll try it. And first couple of videos, boom. Nobody had ever seen the amount of hogs, the type of hogs, and it being recorded. Kind of like the old swamp people. You didn't know that much about alligators, and heck, they've been on TV for 16 years. So that's kind of, people were intrigued with the hog trapping. So it just blew up for me. And we went from there. So September of 2017 is when I started hog trapping. In March of 2017, that same year, is when Yawt started. So it was very quick. And then we just blew into that. And then as the years go, I don't even chase turkeys as hard as I used to. I'm more about making sure that they thrive more than I do them taking them, so.
Well, what you've done is you've taken what you've learned about how to make a good video short. You got a lot of shorts up on your YouTube site, and you're just out enjoying the outdoors. I remember the short about the bees that had been in that tree. I think they had it 17 years, if I remember that. Yeah. If I remember that right. And showing the inside, or as you pursued beaver hunting, going inside a beaver den to see what's going on inside there. But I remember with your son walking across the street and seeing that trail and going to the water and wondering about, is
Right.
that beaver or otter? People love that, man. I think that's one of the things that it really doesn't matter what it is. It's again, Outdoor Boys is that same sort of genre. It's just, let's go out and enjoy the outdoors. Let's just see what today has to bring. And you've just kind of gone with the flow in that way.
Yeah. So I always tell people a lot of times I'm not doing the video for a guy like me and you. I'm doing the video for the guy that has maybe passed his prime. Maybe has a disability. He can't get out. Maybe doesn't have the land to do. We're doing these videos for them. Maybe they live up north and they don't get any touch of Southern hospitality or the southern parts of the land to learn anything about it. So like I said, at the end of the day, I'm not doing it for the guy that can go out there and bow hunt and climb trees and hang upside down like a possum with a traditional bow. I'm not doing it for that guy. We're having a good time. We're showing nature, showing life, because if you go up north or maybe even bigger cities, that's all they know is that block that they live on or that subdivision they live in, the streets and the sirens and the lights. That's all they know. And there's a whole nother world out there. And they may never get to experience, but maybe they can experience through me, and they'll get a little Jesus while they're there.
Hey, David, I love that. I think that's a great way to say it. I think to be, as a former CEO, obviously, to be successful in your business, you kind of got to know who your target market is. Who am I aiming these videos toward? One more just Outdoor Boys experience, but I think it goes extraordinarily well with what you said. When he goes out on the tundra, the frozen tundra, and survives for 3 days by digging into the snow and creating shelter, etc., there's no way I'll ever be out there. There's no way that I'm ever going to go dig that hole and start that fire in the way that he does and stay there for 3 days with the wind blowing 50 miles an hour. There's no way I'm ever going to do that. But it sure is fascinating watching him do it. And you're right. I mean, a lot of the people that your audience may never actually ever get to see one of those creek beds, but you're showing it to them, aren't you?
That's right. They'll never maybe get to see it. I remember Jim Shockey, and I got a chance to go wolf trapping here in January in Montana, but with my schedule and everything, I don't know if I'll ever be able to do that. But watching it, I love it.
Yeah, it's a fascinating journey to see how all that plays out, and we're going to talk about when we come back after the break for the final segment. Where does David Ellis go from here? Because man, the sky's kind of the limit. What does he want to do with his YouTube channel and his social media presence? One of them has something to do with feeding the hungry. We'll see you after this break. Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors. Man, as we barrel toward New Year's, I've said it 100 times on this show in the past couple of months, but where did 2025 go? And we're now all sort of reflecting on the year and looking forward to next year. And that's kind of what today's show is all about, really. It's about, getting back to the basics in life and loving life and giving a nod to those who may be going through something, because as David Ellis, better known as Yawt, said before we went to break, everybody's going through something. Everybody's going through something. And he's bringing out a lot of positive stuff. Hey, we're going to do two things in this short segment. I want to know where you go from here. And then once we have that conversation, I want to talk about your commitment to Extra Table, which I think is one of the most incredible organizations in the state of Mississippi. So where do you go from here?
Well, honestly, I really need a few more sponsors to keep going. I got to get a cameraman. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, and then we're going to push for more content, different content. You don't ever want to stay the same, even though it helps me with the hogs. But I mean, I also want to live a little bit of life too and try different things. And so we'll see. We'll just keep pushing like we're doing. But just as you say, when you're working out in the gym, which I don't work out in the gym, don't tell nobody. But that you always keep pushing yourself one more inch or one more strain. And same way with your job. If we just keep pushing, it'll keep growing and hope it does keep going.
Well, if you think of it this way, man, you're in sort of the marketing business now. You really are. And the product is David Ellis and those people who surround you. And then the question is, how can you leverage that? And what are the various platforms that you can be on? It'd be interesting to watch as you brainstorm that and just let your imagination and creativity kind of, run its course. But I predict big things. Listen, Extra Table was started by Robert St. John, and his goal was to provide food, healthy food, through food pantries across the state of Mississippi. It's an amazing story, and Martha Allen runs the organization. 100% of the staff of Extra Tables salaries are paid by some other fund, so that 100% of the money that goes to Extra Table goes to feeding the hungry. And you've been touched along the way in that regard by Extra Table. What's your commitment as you continue to sort of ramp it up?
Yeah, so me and Martha Allen are from the same town, and she actually worked for the city there for a while as well, where I worked. And she's with the Extra Table. She's been after me for a while, but I just been trying to find myself until I could get to the point where I could really do something. And I reached out to her and said, "Look, what's it cost to just for me to pay for it for my town?" And she gave me some numbers. I come back home, run them through my wife, and it's like, you know what? We're going to do this. God's going to bless us. You can't outgive God. And so starting January, we are funding the food bank for our county. And then we're also doing donations. So I'm going to match. So basically, I'm going to match it up to $50,000. And then we're going to keep rolling. So hopefully we have, $30,000, $50,000 worth of food that I will handle. And then plus the donations. And I'll do it for the first year and see how it goes. And then hopefully it goes well and people start believing in what we're doing. I just know everybody's been through something. Let me tell you something. I had a good job for 23 years being a lineman. I mean, that's what everybody, egoistically, you had a good job. You were a person that somebody needed and money-wise. But I went through hard times as well. And I remember watching my kid eat the last couple corn dogs, and I drank pickle juice because I was tired of drinking water, And I look back and I'm like, and I had a good job. But people still go through hard times and still struggle. And I don't want this to be just about people who really need food. I want the community to show up and we all going to eat. Because if I'm going to eat, if I'm going to have a good life, we all going to try to help one another and have a good life. I told my wife, I said, I got a high dollar life insurance policy. I said, you'll have it made one day. But while I'm here, I can't look these people in the eye and knowing I'm doing so much better. I just can't do it. So
yeah, it's amazing. Listen, $1 will feed 6 families. I mean, they've distributed over 1.3 million pounds of food this year, working with 66 partners. It's an incredible organization. And you could try to do it yourself, but you'd never be able to amass the economies of scale the way Extra Table has.
They can do it. $10 is 50 meals. So, like I tell people when they come to mine, it's, you can donate through Extra Table all you want, but mine is, if you text Yawt to 44321, the link comes up and you can do what you want, but that takes care of our county. But we're not stopping at our county. Like I said, you can't outgive God. And hopefully we start Webster and we just spread it out. Everybody going to eat. If you my friend, you my people, everybody going to eat.
Yeah, it's a big deal. When you think about food insecurity and how many people in Mississippi are hungry, the fact that you could give $1 to Extra Table, $1, and support David Ellis and his work in this area, then you can have 6 healthy meals going to a family who needs it. Man, that's what a great way to think about the new year in that regard. I love the way you're using your platform to do that. But we're out of time for today. David, I can't wait to have you back. We'll tell some stories the next time we're together.
All right. Well, any which way, I appreciate y'all having me. Y'all have a good one. God bless. And as always, Jesus loves you.
There you go. There you go. This has been David Ellis. Look him up. Yawt. Look him up on YouTube. And until next week, listen, always put safety first. Keep that gun unloaded. Use the safety strap. Don't have an accident, please. God bless you. And again, we'll see you next week.